Hi everybody, my name is Michaela Stewart and I'm going to be giving my presentation on semantics and pretty much how to teach EL students and why it is so important for them to know this. Let me get everything set up. Alright, so the question might come up, what is semantics, okay? So semantics is a branch of linguistics. It means the study of words, meaning, and their word relations. So basically what it's saying is what is being implied or conveyed, like in a conversation, what is being said. So the meaning of words, phrases, or sentences. For example, when you hear the word pain pills, if you had no idea what pain pills were, you could imply that these pills might cause pain because pain is in the word itself. But if you already know the meaning of pain pills, then it can be interpreted that these pills take away pain. So this is just one of those misconceptions. If you don't already know the meaning, then you might be confused. So I have a YouTube video that I think is pretty good at explaining. So we're going to take a look at that. While this loads, I'll just basically tell you. So it is a crash course video. I don't know if you've ever watched one of those before, but it's basically short little videos that kind of hits the knowledge hard, kind of gets in there and tells you exactly what you need to know. It's really good for other things besides linguistics. They have crash courses on history, math, other things like that. So this is a really good source if you ever want to use it.
Hi, I'm Taylor and welcome to Crash Course Linguistics. What is the
Let this load.
Hi, I'm Taylor and welcome to Crash Course Linguistics. What is the meaning of life? Or of chair? Or of rabbit? Well, we might not know about life, but we can easily find out what a word means. We just look it up in the Dictionary TM. Episode over. Wait a sec. The first problem with relying on a dictionary to give a word meaning is that dictionaries are made by people. And the people who write dictionaries, called lexicographers, still need some other way of figuring out what words mean. The second problem is that writing a definition isn't always the most effective way of pinning down the meaning of a word. The area of linguistics interested in meaning and the many ways that we can describe it is semantics. To better understand the complexities of meaning, let's start with the humble definition, a clear and concise description of how people are using a word. Definitions are what we're used to reading in dictionaries and help us see when one word has a certain type of relationship to another word. For example, several words can have about the same definition. They're synonyms, like happy and glad and joyful. Two words can also have the opposite definition. They're antonyms, like inside and outside. One word can refer to a specific member of a broader category, such as red, which is a type of color, or rabbit, a type of animal. The specific word, like red and rabbit, is a hyponym, and the broader word, like color and animal, is a hypernym. A word which is a hyponym of one word can be a hypernym of another. Snowshoes are one type of rabbit, and a rabbit is a type of animal. Semantic relationships, like synonyms, antonyms, hyponyms, and hypernyms, are found across many languages. But not all languages draw semantic lines in the same place. For example, English has one word, know, while Polish splits this up. It has wiem for I know a fact, and znam for I know a person. In contrast, Portuguese fazer is used where English has both to do and to make. If you look up a word in a bilingual dictionary, you'll often find more than one possible translation. and you need to know further context about how a language carves up the semantic space in order to know which translation to use. Definitions are also useful for describing how words shift their meanings over time. For example, words can become broader in their meaning. Thing used to refer to a council or assembly in English, but now it can be used to refer to anything. Words can also become narrower in their meaning. For example, girl used to mean child, and now it's more specific. And words can change meaning altogether. Nice used to mean ignorant, and then silly, then fussy, and now, well, nice. What a journey. One driver of this language change is taboo. We use words as euphemisms to avoid saying ruder words, but then the euphemisms start getting associated with the original meaning, and so another euphemism is needed, and so on. For example, the word toilet originally meant a cloth, and then a cloth used on a dressing table, then it meant the items associated with the dressing table, like a mirror and a hairbrush, and then a room containing a dressing table with a lavatory attached. Finally, people used this word to refer to the porcelain plumbing item and the room that it's in, because it sounded more polite than, crap house? Poop room? Now the word toilet is a bit too direct in some people's mind.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the video right there and just talk about basically what she's talking about. So, not only do we have synonyms, antonyms, hyponyms, and hypernyms, which are all related words, so this all falls under semantics. So you can see why this is so important for EL students. There are so many words, so many meanings, and like she was talking about is that meanings change. So what something might meant a long time ago might not mean the same thing now. There are words that have been taken out of the vocabulary because now they're rude or they're not politically correct. So just words are always changing, their meanings are always changing, and this is something that we have to keep up with. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. So here, why is semantics so important? So semantics is so important because you have to be able to determine the differences between words with their similar meanings. So basically saying happy, glad, joy. What are the difference between those? There are subtle differences, but there are differences. For example, the difference in yelling and screaming. So when these words are synonyms, in the context of a sentence, these words have subtle differences. So when I'm saying someone is yelling at me, that could just mean that they are being loud or they're being mean. It just depends on the context of the sentence. While screaming usually means someone is yelling louder and probably with more emotion or maybe some anger behind that. So these words have meanings, but you have to understand the context of the sentence so you understand the meaning of that word in that sentence. So semantics is so important when it comes to broadening not only your vocabulary, but being able to understand context of phrases or sentences spoken to you or someone else. So when you're in conversation and somebody says, they're yelling at me, you have to understand if they're just being loud or if they're saying it with more emotion, and so on and so on. Semantics when teaching EL students. So what I was trying to say earlier during the video is basically that EL students are already trying to learn and memorize different words. They have tons of vocabulary. So adding words that have similar meanings could be difficult. And not only similar meanings, but opposite meanings or similar meanings or different meanings. Knowing the meaning of words helps students understand why certain sentences wouldn't work and the meaning of words within the sentence. So they are also going to have to figure out why they can't put a certain word into a sentence or why they can't say a certain thing in a sentence. So when teaching EL students, it is so important to make sure that we differentiate the differences of meanings of words. Because this can be a very difficult thing to understand as to why I can't use the word color when I'm talking about ham sandwiches. You know, obviously we know that color means a color. It means pink, red, blue, and so on. But they have to be able to understand why it wouldn't work in a sentence talking about eating ham sandwiches, you know? So, for example, here's bear. So, bear can mean, in a sentence, a grizzly bear, a big brown bear. It can mean that you're not able to bear children. You're not able to have children. Or you just can't stand children. So, we have to make sure we are explaining the meanings of words in the context that it is given. So, teaching semantics. So, something that I came across while I was doing my research on semantics is semantic mapping. So, when teaching semantics, an activity that is really good for students would be semantic mapping. So, basically, what you're going to do is you're going to read a text or come across a word that the student does not know. You're going to put that word right in the middle of a map, okay? So let's just say the word is happy, okay? So they don't know what the word happy is, so it's going to go in the middle. Out from happy, you are going to write synonyms, things that are related to the word, and so on until you cannot do any more relations, okay? So basically you have your starting word, your second tier of words, and then from that second tier, you can keep on going with related words. So when you cannot come up with any more words, you will add pictures, drawings to the word map so you know what the word is. It's a really good tool that they can use just to get a better understanding of what one word means and also to broaden their vocabulary as a whole. So you can either use a dictionary, you can go online, so you can be able to find these words. Okay? So this is just like an example. So if you see on the left where it talks about transportation, land, water, air. So basically, these go with transportation. This is where transportation can be. Then off to it, it talks about what type of transportation can be on water, what type of transportation can be in the air, what type of transportation can be in the land. And the same goes with this. So you've got your main word and the words coming off of it. And it even has some of the examples of where they could be, what poultry is, and so on and so on. So this is just a really good tool that you can use in a classroom setting. So tips and tricks. So another thing that I found while doing research is things that would help them understand semantics. It's not really necessarily understanding what semantics is, but how it is used to teach EL students, if that makes sense. So basically, tip number 1, classify or categorize words. So this helps them take words with similar meanings or similar thing they relate in some way. It helps them categorize these words. So not only are they figuring out what the word means, but they are also being able to relate them to other words. So they know that these words can fit in a sentence together or they work somehow. Okay, so another tip is to point out and discuss meanings of words while reading. So if you have a student with you, maybe you're doing one-on-one work, okay? And you all are reading a book or you're reading some type of excerpt. When you get to a word, point it out, highlight it. Immediately from that text, look up what that word means. Talk it out, discuss it. Because if they start reading the word, they read the word, right? But if they don't understand the word, they're not going to understand the reading or the rest of the sentence. It's crazy to think that one word could completely mess up the entire sentence because you don't understand the meaning. So it's good to just point out the word, discuss the meaning while you're reading immediately so you understand the context of what you're reading. So, tip number 3. Do a word of the day. Discuss the meaning. Also talk about synonyms, antonyms, hyponyms, hypernyms of that particular word. Word of the day is such a good thing. So basically, you pick a word that you know that they probably haven't been taught yet, and you take 5 or 10 minutes in your lesson just to point out what this word is, what this means. So not only does that make their vocab bigger, it also has them, again, finding words that relate or do not relate, and so they know what they can use that word in. Or when they hear that word, they're like, oh, that was word of the day the other day. It is related to blah, blah, blah. Okay? So they can understand, again, while they're reading or even while they're discussing. So tip number 4, play synonym games. There are all kinds of games online for you to play synonym games. And to the opposite of that, antonym games. There are all kinds of games that you can find online or probably even get buy off Amazon or anything like that. Card games, memory games, things like that. That's just really good, just like recall type of thing. And I think it's a really good method to use when you're putting semantics into a lesson. So tip number 5. Encourage students to point out and bring up interesting words that they haven't seen or they saw in a magazine, they saw on a billboard, they saw on their way to school. Encourage them to tell you what those words were or have them spell it out for you, or if they cannot pronounce it. Encourage them to come to school and have these words so you can talk about them. So not only is this giving them something to do on their own and working on at home or away from school, it is also getting them interested in understanding the meaning of words. And that is a big deal when it comes to EL learners, is knowing, like comprehending what the words are meaning or what the reading is trying to say. And this also helps with conversations. This is not just when they're doing schoolwork. This can also help with their socialization within their school and with their student population, so that they're able to understand their friends, or they're not saying anything out of the blue because they don't know the meaning of the word. Okay? So, what I've learned throughout my research. I've learned a lot about semantics. I've also learned how to teach it in a way that will reach the students. I've learned about semantic mapping. I've learned about all these card games and online games that you can use within a classroom to work on synonyms and antonyms. I've also learned how important, and how powerful the meaning of words is when it comes to conversation, when it comes to reading a text. I did a normal route of education, so it was like building blocks for me. But if I had came here not knowing the language and had to basically restart, I can understand why learning so many words and learning so many of their meanings would be so hard, especially if you're not able to conversate, if you don't know the words to be able to conversate. So I just learned how valuable this is. So something I also learned is to remember that EL students, they're learning tons of vocabulary, like I said before. Making sure that they know synonyms, they know the antonyms, they know things that are related, hyper and hyponyms. And being able to teach them how to differentiate the meaning of words that sound the same or have similar meanings. So not only are they learning words, that have similar meanings, but they're also learning words that have multiple meanings. Pen. Pen could be what you write with. Pen could be what you put chickens in. So we just have to make sure that we are making sure that they know what these words mean, what they could mean, and how it would be used in the context of a certain sentence. Like, write would go with pen, right? And then chicken or coop would go with pen. So we just have to make sure that we are sitting down and doing all of those things. I've also learned that semantics is used in our everyday language. When someone is talking, or they are already interpreting the context and meaning of the words in the conversation. So every day we are trying to understand somebody else's conversation. We are talking with our friends, we are talking with our coworkers, we are talking with, in my case, professors, coaches, and we are using semantics every day to understand the meaning of what they're saying. So this is only have to do with context. This doesn't have to do with emotion. So, which is a completely different thing. But, when someone is talking to me, I have to understand what is going on around me. Why are they saying these words to me? So that is just a big deal in semantics. Just understanding what is going on. Why is this being said in the conversation, or why is this being said in the reading? So these are my references. I have learned a lot doing this research. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. And I really hope that you all learned and enjoyed it too. Thank you so much. I hope that you all use this in your class as well.